Talking about something called mirror work, which would be similar to like psychomantiums and that idea.
Yes.
Um, were these methods part of our culture going way back and maybe starting in Atlantean times,
Yes.
or
It began in Atlantean times and progressed through Egyptian times and spread out to many other cultures in the early days of your civilizations. Yes.
and what is the benefit of working with those kinds of tools?
Well, again, like any permission slip, it taps into certain things where people have certain sensitivities to recognize that the idea of reflection, which is what a mirror symbolizes, puts you in touch with not only different aspects of your own consciousness, if you're willing to reflect on them and look with honesty in the reflections in mirrors to see your true self, but also can allow you to look beyond the physical realm as if the mirror is actually a window into the spirit world. Because it can function that way for certain aspects of your consciousness as well, and allow ease of communication with spirits.
So is there something with the subconscious mind that allows it to use it and it gets the
Yes.
conscious mind out of the way in a sense? Is
Yes,
that
the sub and unconscious minds, which are higher versions closer to the idea of the higher mind. And therefore, yes, getting the conscious mind to relax and allow yourself to see through the looking glass, so to speak, as opposed to just seeing your own physical reflection, is what will allow it to sort of turn into a window into the higher mind realm, which is the realm of spirit, and thus make more ease of communication with spirits, if used that way, in the way it is described to be used in the darkness with a dim light, not seeing anything in the mirror other than a blank canvas, so to speak, like a wall. Thus, then getting your analytical mind to relax itself because there's nothing in the mirror to analyze except existence itself, presence itself. And so it becomes a window rather than a reflector.
you once mentioned that that your existence is very similar to being in a lucid dream
Yes.
for us.
Yes.
Okay. And that one of the keystone aspects of that is that you can see the symbols for what they are,
Yes.
as opposed to us, the symbols we see, and also because of our training, we think of them as solid. We think they mean one thing,
Yes.
like a chair, or whereas if you were to see a chair,
Yes.
what might that symbol represent?
A sensation of relaxed support.
So that's part of the evolution of consciousness also, is that we start to be able to see through the symbols that are presented to us.
And of course, they will change depending upon the circumstance and the situation. Again, similar to the idea of the permission slip you know as the tarot cards, because even though there may seem to be a so-called quote-unquote fixed image on the card, there are many different attributes to that image, many different kinds of objects that are represented in any one of those cards. And for someone who is sensitive to that particular permission slip and can allow themselves to read them, different symbols at different time, depending upon the interaction of different people, will stand out to the reader in different ways than they have before, letting them know which aspect of the overall image is the most important to look at and what meaning that may bring with it relevant for the person they are reading for. So even a chair can represent different things. It can represent the concept of relaxed support. It can represent the concept of paying attention by staying in one spot and being educated by something, just as you have your own chairs and desks in school. It can represent many different kinds of things, depending on how many legs it has, how many backs it has, if it has any back at all. So again, even the symbol of the chair can shift according to what's going on at any given moment in anyone's consciousness that is choosing to use that symbol to represent the state of being they happen to be in at that moment.
And there's been questions about how you can achieve the same kind of effect without having to take a psychedelic or
Yes.
a plant medicine. And it seems like it's also connected with the idea of being able to see through symbols when
Yes.
you are in these altered states.
Yes.
Is there other ways of attaining those states of consciousness?
Of course. Of course. There are many different permission slips. The idea of channeling is one of them. Being in the channeling state in the brain allows for these kinds of perceptions.
Okay, and then even some of the things like drumming and
dancing, drumming.
meditation.
There are many different kinds, meditation, many different kinds of permission slips that generate certain states that will allow for these kinds of perceptions to seem more obvious and natural.
And whereas in a plant-based medicine experience, it may go on and on for hours,
Yes.
you can actually achieve the same thing simply by getting a download when you're in an altered state that
Yeah.
you generate naturally.
Yes, of course.
And then it unspools within you so
Yeah.
that you have recognition of the information you're receiving.
It unspools according to the time frame and the timing that is relevant for the person that has received the download, yes.
I see. Can all kinds of cats, including tigers and lions, can they see interdimensionals? I mean, and elementals and...
Yes, they don't always do it, but they all have the capacity, yes.
But is this something in domestic house cats that has been amplified?
Well, the idea of interacting with humans can amplify it. It can actually also dampen it. It just depends on who they're interacting with and why. Because the idea of humanity being connected to many different kinds of things, the cats can utilize a relationship with humans to magnify and amplify a reason for seeing particular elementals or particular spirits that might be relevant for the particular human that they're, as you say, hanging out with.
Which leads to the next question about zoo animals who are changed because they interact with humans and they deeply interact with human consciousness.
They can. They don't have to, but they can.
And they're in a situation where they're actually cared for very strongly. You know, there's a lot of concern about their well-being, enrichment, and all of these things. So how are we changing animal species and their abilities, I guess, psychically, by developing almost new species that have these kinds of experiences?
Well, again, like anything, it's a reflection of the evolution within your own consciousness. So you will form relationships or generate species that are more reflective of the level of consciousness that you're operating from.
So it's very interesting to watch them change, and the idea that animals can be friends with animals that heretofore would have been enemies.
Yes. It is to some degree not only a reflection of what we just said about the shifts in collective consciousness on your planet, but it is also to some degree the precursors of what we experience in our world about all animals being symbiotic instead of predatory.
So we're just seeing the early signs of that now.
Yes. Very early.
And our consciousness evolves.
Correct. And you become less predatory and more symbiotic as well.
Right. Do you have any suggestions for making extracts from crystals?
At this time, no.
Okay. Let's see. As far as individuals having challenges with finding time to follow their excitement, and especially if they have children.
It's about being creative and imaginative to make the time, not find it, by understanding how to follow, at least to some degree, the formula. Again, synchronicity being the organizing principle, they will begin to allow synchronicity to organize their lives and everyone in their lives in a manner that serves everyone best, synchronistically, thus creating the time needed in order to continue to and expand upon the actions of your passion. So you have to start somewhere. As long as you are willing to start somewhere and know that it can expand and be willing to allow it to expand without putting a condition on it that you are afraid it will expand too far and then you won't have time to do this or do that is important to you or needs to be done, is a complete contradiction of understanding how synchronicity works. So the idea is to at least act on your passion to the degree you can in the present situation and allow synchronicity as the organizing principle to bring you a more efficient way of doing with your imagination what it is that truly needs to be done, and allow you to also realize that there are different ways to do things that will afford you more time, and that there may be things you don't actually need to do when you're operating more efficiently. And therefore the time again will appear to allow you to continue to move forward. This is one of the side effects of acting on your passion, is that the synchronicity connected to it actually brings you more opportunities to act on your passion and brings with it all of the coordination necessary for everyone that's important to be in your life so that all fits in perfect timing. So it's not an issue of finding time, it's an issue of allowing perfect timing to work the way synchronicity will automatically manifest it for you.
And it also seems like when you're doing something that's your passion, like having a child and raising them,
Yes.
that even though there may be tasks involved in that process
Yes.
that you find quote unquote unpleasant or whatever, if you
Yes.
always frame it as being part of your passion of raising a child,
then you will find ways to do what is absolutely necessary in the most pleasurable way. And you will let go of those things or realize that there may be certain things that either can be done very differently or are wholly unnecessary to do. Again, remember, you have to look at this as a whole system. Being in your passion, by definition, brings with it the ways in which the things that need to be done can be done that are reflective of your passion. You don't have to assume that in your passion there will be tasks that will be unpleasant, because that's a totally contradictory idea of the state of being of passion. The state of passion wouldn't contain things that need to be done in an unpleasant way. That's not a definition of the state of passion. So being in your passion will bring you, if you're willing to allow it, the inspiration, imagination, and insight and synchronistic opportunities to allow you to do the things that truly need to be done that are reflective of your passion, including the raising of children, if that is your passion, having the family that is your passion, interacting with them in a way that is reflective of the passion of every single member in the family. Working together automatically, synchronistically, because you're in that state of being together. And nothing is left out that's important. You have to understand how this works holistically and not try to piece it together like it's a collection of disconnected parts. It's not. It's one system.
We have a phrase here that if you love someone, then you should let him or her be free.
Yes.
Can you share some more about that idea and what that really means in terms of vibrational level?
Well, again, it's not imposing assumptions of structures on relationships that may not be what the relationship is about. So it's about letting go of all of these different assumptions that just because there may be a particular strong attraction, putting an imposition upon it or a supposition upon it about what that attraction is supposed to mean and how the relationship is supposed to play out just because of the strength of the attraction, is a complete misunderstanding of the principle of the formula of not having any assumptions or insistence on the way your reality unfolds. So the idea of quote unquote let them be free is the way to truly express the unconditional love that will allow the relationship to show you what it actually needs to be instead of what you've been taught to think it should be. And then you will have what you need to get out of that relationship by not assuming and misunderstanding what it is, letting it show you what it is, and getting what you need out of it, instead of being disappointed because what you thought you needed or wanted didn't happen, because that wasn't necessarily the purpose of that particular relationship.
So many people have challenges with that regarding romantic relationships.
Yes.
And so the idea that we go through a phase, let's say, of having a deep investment in romantic relationships and needing them to be the way we want them to be and our partner to be a certain way and all of that.
Yes.
What is the basis for the dysfunction aspect of that?
Well, fear of abandonment, fear of being unworthy, those kinds of things are the base frequencies of these kinds of behaviors. Again, the idea is that if that's what you're imposing upon the idea of a relationship, then you're actually not in the real relationship anyway, and you've created a self-fulfilling prophecy of, in a sense, being alone, even while you're in a relationship, because you don't know who you're actually in a relationship with, and they don't know who they're really in a relationship with, because you're not being your true self and not showing them who you really are so they can make the choice to be in the relationship that serves them or not. So the idea, again, is it comes from a fear of disconnection, being taught that you are disconnected, being taught that you are not self-empowered, being taught that you need others to complete you. So when you let all that go, the idea of relationships play out wonderfully, joyfully, lovingly, even romantically, in their own natural way, according to what is germane for that relationship. Remember, there are many kinds of romance, so to speak. And so the idea of the way you impose the concept of what romance should look like very often isn't exactly a true romance.
So how do hormones play into this? Because it seems like the more intensely human beings are experiencing their hormonal aspects, the more focused they are on these ideas and their insistences.
Because hormones reinforce the belief that created them. Remember, every belief system, positive or negative, is going to create in your physical body a chemical reflection of the belief, and that includes hormones. So if it's a fear-based belief, it's going to include the idea of a chemical composition of your hormones and many other chemical substances in the body that will reinforce what you have bought into with regard to that belief. And again, that's why when you finally let them go, you often cry them out in your tears, because letting go of a fear-based belief also requires you letting go of the chemical component, which more often than not washes out through your tears.
So as a species, as we evolve, will our hormonal levels change to reflect that? And
Absolutely.
so, or do we have heightened levels of hormones now and perhaps historically when we've had lots of wars and a
Yes.
very patriarchal kind of environment?
How can you not? Again, remember, physical reality is a reflection on every possible level of the state of your consciousness, which is determined by your belief systems in physical reality. So everything is going to adjust itself according to those belief systems to give you a reflection in physical terms. Everything. Nothing is left out.
So using hormones as an excuse really is no excuse, because that will change as you shift your consciousness. Is it mind over biology in a sense?
All you're saying when you use hormones as an excuse is you're saying that you acknowledge that you have bought into a belief system that has generated these particular chemical structures in your body in order to reinforce itself. So you're admitting that there is a reinforcement factor that you find challenging, but nevertheless, if you understand the mechanics of what we've just described, it can't necessarily be used as an excuse to keep doing it, because the idea of recognizing that you have the chemical hormone that reflects the belief should put you in touch with the fact that you have the belief. And therefore, if you're in touch with the fact that you have the belief, you can change it because you know that the belief generated the hormone in exactly the same way that you know that a belief generates an emotion or a thought or a behavior. So just use the hormones in the way that you would use the emotion and trace it back and say, what would I have to believe is true in order to have these chemical components in my body to reinforce this fear-based belief? Just the way you would say, what would I have to believe is true in order to feel or think or behave or experience what I am feeling, thinking, behaving, experiencing? You can use the same technique with hormones as well, because it's all a reflection of beliefs.
Is that part of what the Greys did? They tried to eliminate the hormonal aspect of their expression?
Well,
They
yes, they had to eliminate the idea of the reinforcement of any particular kind of emotional belief or anything like that because of the work they knew they needed to do and how they needed to focus on it in order to accomplish it. So there would be absolutely no distractions whatsoever, because the idea of the hybridization agenda was very complex, and they knew it would take a long time, and they knew that if they didn't become, in a sense, an emotionless hive mind, they would never accomplish the task.
So they did the shortcut. Instead of changing their belief system, they literally
divested themselves of the belief system in order to become a hive mentality that would then be overseen by those that they had put in charge to oversee, which is the mantis beings.
Okay, and will we see changes as we evolve and ascend in our general theme of exploration, going from the transforming darkness into light? Yes. To some other kind of theme as a society?
Absolutely. Again, whatever you're the vibration of determines what you experience. And the simplest way to express that is what we have said before, is that even when you let go finally of all fear-based beliefs, you can still continue to evolve and refine yourself by now determining that you can let go of things that are simply not relevant for you, even if they're not fear-based beliefs.
Okay.
That's one example of that idea.
And then lastly, there was a question about technology and sophistication of things like dating apps and other matchmaking services, and how will our experience of dating change in the future if we evolve? We will evolve more, so we balance out our hormones and we're not so driven by that.
Yes.
And perhaps,
well, it will be something more similar to what we experience on our planet, because we operate, as we have said, on pure synchronism. You'll meet exactly who you need to meet when you need to meet them. Period. That's dating.
And you won't put on them a insistence that they be someone other than who they truly are. It's much more free-flowing.
Because you will finally be honest with yourselves that you have no clue yet as to who they actually are and why they're in your life. You will allow that to unfold and show you who they are and why they're there, and you will take it moment by moment by living more in the present instead of assuming an entire future that has to unfold because you've met someone. So, does that help?
Yes, it does. Thank you so much.
So then at this time, please allow yourselves to move forward in relaxation in order to enjoy the unfolding of the meditation about to be delivered. Allow yourselves to become comfortable in whatever way, shape, or form works for you. Allow whatever images or sounds or music you wish to add to this particular experience to begin. And just let go of anything right now that you need not be concerned about. Breathe deeply and easily in a relaxed fashion, and partake of the ideas we have presented to you here this day with respect to increasing your vibration and the probability of open contact through the exercises and experiences of the cutouts that peer through your window and the statement that you can read out loud or internally if you wish, but out loud creates another vibratory level to that image peering at you through the window that establishes your particular position in that relationship, in those encounters, that is far more conducive to allowing you to continue to expand your participation in a way that is more allowing of your awareness, more allowing of your terms of interaction on your own level without fear. But should that arise, examine it, explore it. But reading that statement that we dictated to you will aid and assist in going forward and expanding your ability and probability of having more awareness of the encounters you have had and the encounters that may be yet to come, especially toward the idea of open contact, of which this is the beginning, of which there will be more exercises to increase the probabilities yet again. But for now, just imagine this scenario, as we have described it, of you reading this declaration of independence and declaration of cooperation and declaration of allowance as you exchange intention with the being looking at you through the glass, through the window, through the door. And open your heart, and open your mind, and open your spirit for the best of all concerned, inclusively, lovingly, peacefully. Allow yourselves to breathe into this experience. Take your time with it. Do it creatively and artistically and beautifully. And just feel your way through it. Allow yourself to let it become more and more solid, more and more real, that you're truly interacting with a real being, not just a cardboard cutout. Keep breathing through it as you do it. And allow yourself to feel the expansion opening up within you, your heart expanding, your mind expanding, your soul and spirit filling you up with joy and gratitude and appreciation and love, in peace and beauty and harmony for all concerned. We will go through several stages of this to allow you to become more effective in your encounters, more participatory, more consciously, to understand the agreements that you have made, to play your part in the evolution of the Earth becoming the 6th hybrid race, to walk that path and experience that journey with all of us, hand in hand, heart in heart, mind in mind, soul in soul, spirit in spirit, in similar vibrations of beauty and exchange and sharing and willingness and allowance and manifestation, manifestation, manifestation of open contact as an expression here and now in this way and timing of all that is knowing itself more and more each and every moment of each and every day, of each and every week, of each and every month, of each and every year, of each and every cycle that you experience this journey to be. Allow yourself to breathe through it and allow it to breathe through you so that you share a breath, a heartbeat, a thought, a feeling, an awareness, a knowingness in beauty, in love, and in peace for the betterment of all concerned. Keep breathing, keep knowing, keep allowing, keep moving, keep acting. Be yourself, For nothing else needs to happen for you to experience everything that is relevant in contact for you. Continue to breathe and be excited about doing the exercise and reading the declaration, for this forms your foundation from this point forward. This forms your assurance from this point forward that you are on the path of contact. Allow yourself to let the path be illuminated by your knowingness that this is a reflection of who you truly are, or you would be somewhere else at this time. We welcome you into our family. We welcome you into our reality, a shared reality in which we can both play together. And we welcome you home. For this vibrational energy, this space, this place, and this timing is truly your home. Welcome home. Welcome home. Welcome home. We will see you in your dreams and in the dream of physical reality forthwith in perfect timing. Sweet dreams, sweet dreams, sweet dreams. Allow yourself now to simply drift, knowing that you will absorb everything you need to in an excited anticipation of carrying out the next phase and increasing the probabilities of contact for us all. We thank you, our unconditional support, our unconditional love to you all. Good day. All right, good day. Today's transmission has been titled, Tell Them Bashar Sent You. And this will be, in some sense, a continuation of what we have done before when we suggested that you take an illustration of either a hybrid or a gray that is provided for you to download in this transmission and cut it out, blow it up, paste it on some stiffer background, cardboard or foam core or whatever you wish that allows it to be rigid. Blow it up to the point where the head of the image of the gray or the hybrid from the top of the crown to the bottom of the chin fills one of your typical 8.5 by 11-inch pages, and therefore allow the rest of the neck and the shoulders to be whatever size they will be by following that measurement. And once, as we have described before, it has been placed on a rigid background, then place that cutout outside one of your windows, or more than one, as if it is peeking through the window at you, to get used to the idea as you're simply going about your daily business of now and then, out of the corner of your eye or more directly catching that image, especially at nighttime, peeking in at you, so that you can get used to the idea over time that there are interactions going on between those beings and yourself. And as you become more used to the idea of seeing them there, allowing yourself no longer to be startled by those particular images and starting to relate to those images pasted outside your window as if they are real three-dimensional beings looking at you physically through your window. So again, you can get used to the idea that interactions are going on, whether you are aware of them or not. This technique, as we have described it previously in that transmission, will allow you more ability to accept that these beings are in your reality and allow you more efficacy at actually being able to perceive them, the real beings, as they enter your reality, and observe you and start to interact with you. This is for the purpose of making sure that you can begin to experience now, from this point forward, those interactions on a more conscious basis, on your own terms, as equals, without fear, so that you can not only remember some of the encounters you've already had that you may have forgotten one way or another, whether they were suppressed by the Greys or the hybrids, or whether you suppressed them out of fear, doesn't matter. The idea now is that as you develop more of an equilibrium between yourself and your vibration and these beings, you can begin to remember the encounters you've already had and can become more aware and conscious of any future encounters as well. Now, to add to this and continue this process forward to get you, again, more used to the idea of open contact, because now we are starting bit by bit to proceed toward the beginning of the window at the end of 2023 of open contact, starting slowly, bit at a time. But more and more of these kinds of exercises will be shared with you, suggested for you, to give you, again, more ability to experience open contact in a way that is beneficial to all, without fear. And so what we will now add to this exercise, which you can keep doing to get, again, yourself used to this idea, and especially now that some of your military officials have begun the first stages, small stages, yes, but the first stages nonetheless of disclosure, by validating certain videos as authentic of UFOs. This is the beginning, the very, very beginnings of opening up to disclosure that we exist. So let's begin to take advantage of that momentum by adding to the previous exercise of the cutouts peeking at you through windows, by now allowing you, when you notice them at any time during the day or night, face them, walk up to them more closely on your side of the window or the glass door or wherever you have pasted them so that they appear to be peeking in at you. Walk up to them, maybe at about a distance of, let's say, 3 feet. And once you are in that position and looking at them and allowing yourself to feel comfortable looking at them, allow yourself to say the following words. I see you. I recognize you. I invite you to invite me to participate more openly, more consciously, without fear. And I introduce myself to you as a friend of the messenger, as a friend of Bashar, as a friend of the hybrids, as a friend of the children who will come to live among us. And I am open in whatever way serves everyone best to participate in the ongoing program of evolution that will allow Earth to move forward and become the 6th hybrid race. I allow this on my own terms, in an experience of comfort, in an experience of love, in an experience of allowance on both sides. And I allow myself to come into more awareness, more conscious recognition, more conscious realization of the ongoing encounters in my life and the participation of all of my counterparts and connections and my soul, family, and spirit guides and higher mind in this endeavor. For all concerned with love and peace. You may write all this down. You may read it out loud when you are facing that image. And if you wish, at the end, you can add. This is up to you. Bashar sent me, and I am here. We will leave that part up to you. Remember to do this with no insistence, no assumptions, just allowance, bit by bit. You can do this once a day if you wish, twice a day if you wish. You don't have to do it more than 3 times a day, but we will leave that up to you. And it doesn't have to last any longer than the reading we just gave you. But be earnest, be open, and if you feel any trepidation or fear, that is all right. You can stop, you can adjust, you can breathe, you can relax, you can even stop and start again later if you wish. This is all about getting comfortable with the existence of these beings in your reality and getting comfortable with your existence in our reality. So that again, you are creating and building up a frequency that is representative of the third reality between the both of our realities, respectively, that will be the reality in which open contact will occur to the best of all concerned. So practice this every day if you wish, to guide yourself more and more into the frequency of open contact. And we welcome you in this exercise and in this endeavor. So tell them Bashar sent you. We thank you now for allowing us to deliver this next phase of this exercise to you. Have fun with it, enjoy it, relax into it, be creative with it, and just be yourself and keep moving forward. And in return for this gift you have given us, in allowing us to suggest this to you, I ask you now, in what way may we be of service to you? You may begin with your questions and comments if you wish.
To see you again.
Good day, good day.
You ended the little talk here about archetypes with "we also are that." I would say that the I am, that we are, is the primary source of the God essence because it comes from within us. Would you agree?
Yes. And that's what I said, the I am that I am. But it doesn't matter what you call it.
Right. But isn't that primary for us to understand as humans as opposed to putting it outside of us?
It is a primary understanding that will allow you to experience yourself in a much broader, greater way. But it's not absolutely essential if you have decided to experience a theme or a challenge that prevents you from understanding that in a particular life, because that can be a learning experience as well. But nevertheless, whether you learn it or not, it is the primary truth. It exists that way, whether you realize it or not. But yes, the realization of it is what allows you to grow and discover yourself from many different points of view.
Right. So let me ask you, these past 2 years that we've been sort of in this transition period with the whatever's been going on, have they been a vibrational adjustment for us to prepare for first contact?
Partly, yes. But again, a vibrational adjustment for you to be able to be more of yourselves, which is preparation for open contact, because only by being more of yourselves will you be prepared for open contact.
Now, partly what's been coming out from the government side of disclosure is that these, in this latest book called Skinwalker at the Pentagon, they talk about the paranormal element of the contact experience. And they say that there's a negative aspect to these orbs that are appearing. Is there a way to turn that negative aspect around and make it a positive thing that the government is not seeing?
Yes, of course. First and foremost, by understanding that what they're saying about there being a negative aspect is false. It's their reflection, their experience of their own fear-based belief system that is allowing them to experience it as a negative aspect. but the essence of the phenomenon in and of itself is not presenting itself in a negative way. But it is calling forth from those that experience it the idea, as we have described before, of bringing their consciousness into closer contact with their own fear-based beliefs, which allows them to project upon the phenomenon the idea that it is the phenomenon that is negative, instead of facing the fact that it is their own belief system that is negative.
So when we change our beliefs, of course, you've talked about this, the not just everything else, but our relationship to first contact or contact changes.
Yes, of course.
And then, so we are in this incubation process, and is there something we need to do more of in order to activate the consciousness? Yes, follow your excitement, all that. And
why would you think there would be more than that? We have given you the formula and told you that it is a complete kit and leaves nothing relevant out. We give it to you that way and are explaining it that way, so you won't have to ask, is there more? That's the full instruction manual. All you have to do is actually act on it precisely and completely, and you will understand how it works, and you will understand there doesn't need to be anything more unless you decide that you wish to add something to it for the purposes of experiencing your own self-chosen process. But beyond that, there is no more. Follow the instructions, follow the formula, and you will open all of the tools that automatically are built into it, and you will get exactly what you need, exactly when you need to get it. You don't need anything more than that. Keep it simple. Don't overthink it.
Is there a particular reason you wanted to talk about archetypes today? Is there something more than our expansion of consciousness we need to embrace with that concept?
It's about understanding yourselves as aspects, true reflections of all that is. And the next transmission, titled Mirror, Mirror, will help drive this home more deeply within you, so you can really start experiencing yourself as an aspect, as a spark of the light of all that is. So yes, we build upon different things one at a time, building them up in a way that we perceive will work for those who understand and are willing to understand these concepts and take them to heart.
Are we still on track or are things shifting as you see it, as far as first contact coming in the next 10 or 15 years?
In general, you are still on track, but again, it depends on what you decide to do in the years ahead that will shift you to different versions of Earth that may already be experiencing the idea of open contact.
Thank you, Bashar.
Good day.
Thank you.
Hello, Bashar. This is Sandra from Miami, Florida. I had a dream that I would like your insights on. On September 30th, in the middle of the night, I was awakened by a sensation of like being plugged into a current of electricity, so to speak. My whole body it felt like it was vibrating, and I was perceiving a presence of an ET, a male, and I just remember being afraid to look up into his face because I was kind of afraid of being afraid, which I guess is another belief I can take a look at. And I just wanted to know what truly happened in that moment, and if that sensation of electricity or vibration was my own resistance. Any insights would be appreciated. Thank you and good day.
All right. Well, yes, the energy was your own energy, and there was some resistance, but this is what we've described before as the reason why we can't just land. There may be many extraterrestrial forms that you can interact with relatively easily, but some extraterrestrial forms, including ours, operate on a much different frequency domain than you. We come from a parallel reality that is 10 times faster than yours. And the idea of being exposed directly to our energy physically would, in fact, allow all of the different kinds of fear-based belief systems within you to be forced to the surface and can cause the idea of psychic shock. So we give you this information to allow you the process of transforming yourself and raising your frequency in a way that is safe for you to meet our frequency more easily, become more vibrationally compatible with higher frequency beings so that you can interact with them without resistance and without experiencing the idea of what you experienced and the fears you experienced in that encounter. Nevertheless, you were given enough of the difference in energy between you and a higher being, a higher frequency being, to allow you to integrate that energy within yourself, to get used to the idea that you're experiencing your own energy on a higher level, and therefore raise to that frequency, to meet that frequency, to become more vibrationally compatible with the being that you're dealing with, which is most likely a counterpart version of you in another reality that's helping you bootstrap yourself up the frequency ladder. So have fun with it. Don't be afraid. But if fear comes up, find the belief system that generates the fear. Because remember, you can't have an emotional experience without believing something to be true first. So you're given an opportunity by experiencing the fear to examine those areas in your consciousness where you have a belief that would generate the fear you experienced in that encounter. Remember, you're fundamentally an indestructible being. So there's nothing to be afraid of. Nothing can truly annihilate you. Even though your survival mechanisms in the lower part of your brain may kick in, there is really nothing to be afraid of.
Hello.
Good day.
Hello, Bashar. It's
Good
really
day.
nice day. I am really excited to be communicating with you right now, and we've been in conversation for quite some time.
Yeah.
And I was thinking today about how quite some time ago connected around the idea of Anima, one of your social engineers, and in a discussion of art. And I feel like the project that, maybe some seeds were planted way back when is now coming more into bloom. And it's an interesting moment because I'm about to transition into having my time to myself to create in a way that I haven't before. So
how exciting.
It's incredibly exciting. And I've really been using, the formula to work with that and like keeping my mind open, even as it's like twisted and turned in interesting ways. So yes. I'm just curious if there's anything, any follow up with Anima around this like art project.
All right. Are you having fun doing this, I assume?
Yes, I am.
All right. Well, what else do you need to know except to keep moving forward and exercise your creative imagination?
I don't really need to know anything more, but it would be interesting to know more if there was anything specific, because I was just reflecting on
All
that.
Right. Well, let me ask you the question. Why do you think that you're missing something?
I don't know that I feel like I'm missing something.
But you're asking, is there anything more? Which implies that you think something's missing.
That's a good point.
Thank
you always make really good points, Bashar. I guess I was just curious about it. If
you were missing something?
If there was more to unfold in that particular direction.
Do you feel like you're not doing enough? That you're not expressing the idea of your art as fully as you possibly could be? Are you holding back your creative imagination in one direction or another?
I think to some extent I was, but I don't think that that's going to be true going forward because I will have more energy to dedicate to that more specifically.
Is there a particular expression that you're more excited about than any other that you haven't begun expressing yet?
Not exactly. It's more that I feel that I have to rush when I'm doing it because there were other things. Why?
Yes, why? Do you not believe in the understanding of synchronicity's perfect timing?
I do, but I still get caught up in...
Excuse me. When a person on your planet says, I do, but, that means they don't.
Fair enough. Can you understand it sometimes and not other times?
Yes, of course. Okay. But the idea is, why don't you understand it at other times? It's fine when you understand it and move forward in the way that works for you and is representative of your passion. But we don't have to talk about that. We're talking about the times when you don't stay in that vibration and what would be the reason for that. So let's go back to what you said. Why do you believe you have to rush? What's your hurry? Do you have a deadline?
Sure. I think I'm just transitioning out of that. And I guess this is that transition that a lot of us are going through, of letting go of things that we don't really need to hold on to anymore. So I think I'm at one of that, major stages right now of letting that go.
All right, congratulations. Do you understand the paradox that sometimes you have to slow down to speed up?
Sure. Yes. That I've experienced viscerally. Yeah.
All right. Well, would you like to keep experiencing it?
Sure.
Then why choose anything else? Why choose any reason that takes you out of that state if that's what you say you prefer to be in? Why?
I think I'm sometimes influenced by the people around me.
You are never influenced by the people around you. You take upon yourself to influence yourself based on what others may say or do, but they don't actually ever directly influence you. You influence yourself based on some reason for matching the frequency that they're offering you. So why would you do that if those frequencies are not vibrationally compatible with what you prefer?
And would that mean that empathy is that different than empathy? Or I might be just, I think
there is a difference, because empathy and compassion can allow you to understand what a person may be experiencing for themselves, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you take that energy on yourself, that you convert your own vibrational frequency in a way that allows you to feel more than you need to understand. Empathy is more of a vibrational matching just for the purpose of understanding. Whereas, just to use another word in your language, if you overly sympathize with someone, then you may be taking on the vibration beyond what you need to simply understand them, and you may then be starting to actually match the negative frequencies that they may be giving off and experiencing some of what they're experiencing. Now, again, some people can use that to positive effect, but is that what you need to do with your art?
No, I don't think so.
All right. Art in its various forms is a mirror that allows people that are looking at the art, looking at the mirror, to see different aspects and understand different aspects of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So you can use your experiences with other people and put it in your art, if you wish, in a way that allows people to understand the things that you are observing, the things you're understanding about your relationship to other people. But certainly you don't have to ever stop yourself by lowering your vibration to a level that doesn't necessarily represent where you prefer to be. Unless, again, you're making an art out of doing that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still your choice.
Right.
Remember, that's your greatest power, the freedom to choose.
Right.
So, whenever you may choose something that you don't really prefer, stop, take a moment, take a breath, and ask yourself, what is the reason I'm creating, even in an artistic way, to make this choice? Do I really have a positive reason for doing this? Can I apply this in a positive way? Or do I really need to do this at all? Take the time to examine those things and find out what the reasons are for why you would choose to do what you're doing and why you would choose to experience and feel what you're feeling and experiencing, because that's the result of a belief.
You're right.
Yes, I know. That's why I said it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, thank you, Bashar. As always, I appreciate our interactions, and thank you.
Did that serve you?
It did.
All right. Then we thank you for your interaction. Have a good day.
You too.
Always.